with a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast. Less than a week to go before the NFL 2026 draft. And I'll tell you how many, it's actually 4 days, 14 hours, 48 minutes as we're recording this, 35 seconds. Andy's here to discuss this. We're going to have a look just at the round one. Who's going to be available at 2? Who's going to be available at 16? And some bits in between. There's been some breaking news overnight as well. I'll let Andy fill you in on this one. Andy, good morning. And there has been breaking news this morning, hasn't there? The Giants had a trade with the Cincinnati Bengals, and it kind of throws a spanner in the works, not just for us, because they're picking twice before we pick at 16, but it kind of throws a spanner in the whole of the NFL's draft, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So overnight, the Giants managed to trade Dr. Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals straight up for the 10th overall pick in this draft. You can debate. I'd be interested what Bengals podcasts are like this morning after that trade, because he needs paying as well, and probably a fair amount of money. Cincinnati aren't known for kind of putting their hands in their pockets when it comes to particularly defensive players. So it's a really interesting one. I think you can't argue that Lawrence is an amazing player, but I do wonder how smart this is. I think it works really well. I think if you're Giants fans this morning, you're absolutely over the moon.
For sure.
They've got so many needs, and it gives them that opportunity to address them. Now, I think, like you say, it does throw a spanner in the works for us, because I think Cincinnati were probably taking a defensive player, and there wasn't really much debate about that at number 10. And this kind of leaves the window open for the Giants to take a wide receiver, which could mean that certain players don't slip to us at 16.
Yeah, it's well, I woke up to this news this morning, and my first reaction was, that's going to be all the wide receivers off the board. Is this getting back to this trade? Let's not dwell on this too much, because this is a Jets podcast. But Lawrence is 28 years old, so he's not a spring chicken, but he's not old either. He spent all 7 seasons with the Giants. He's made 3 straight Pro Bowls from 22 to 24. He's still got 2 seasons left on his contract, so there is room for wiggle room. So he'll be 30 in his last year. For a 10th round, he is good, but a 10th overall. The only thing I'll give a caveat on this as well. This is not a good draft. The top end talent in this draft is not very good, and arguably you could say elite talent, blue chippers. You're probably looking at 5, maybe 6 picks. So 10th, you're right on the cusp of the blue chip players if one of them should fall. Who won this trade? The Bengals. I mean, it's interesting what you say. If I was a Bengals fan, I would be pretty upset that we traded 10th overall for this guy.
Yeah, it was really surprising that it was just straight up for the 10th and they didn't get anything back. So, although to be fair, the Giants haven't got a lot of picks after the first round. I don't think they pick again till, is it the 3rd round that they pick, or is it the 3rd round they don't have any picks in? Yeah, they pick 37th, and then I don't think they pick again until day 3. So they haven't really got a lot to give up. So I get it, but when you look at this draft and where like defensive tackle, for example, is going to start going off the board, I thought Cincinnati were really well placed at the start of day 2 at pick 41 to get one of the defensive tackles that slipped. So I get that Lawrence is like, I don't think any of the players in this draft are going to become what Lawrence is, but paying him as well, it's a wild move. And so I honestly feel like the Giants won this one hands down.
Yeah.
The thing is, Lawrence didn't want to be there anymore. He flat out just said he didn't want a contract. He didn't want to talk about it. He just wanted out. So you would have thought that would have taken some of the bargaining power away from the Giants, but they somehow managed to walk out of it with a top 10 pick. So what do I know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally with you. The Giants have absolutely won this. The biggest question remains though. Lawrence obviously wanted out of New York, but did he really want to go to Cincinnati? God, wow, that is a frying pan in the fire. I would be interested to see. I don't know. Maybe the Giants will, F you if you don't want to play for us. We're going to send you somewhere where you don't want to go. So maybe that was part of the bargaining chip, right? And who blinked first?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on to what we've come to talk about. The Giants, God, Giants on the head in my head now. The Jets are picking at number 2 overall. It's really weird, isn't it? Because it's like everyone is assuming that Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1 because he probably is going to go number 1. And the draft really starts with the Jets at number 2. And it almost feels like we've got the first pick in the NFL draft this year, but we have the second pick. And the biggest question is, over the last couple of weeks, the discourse has flip-flopped between Arvell Reese and David Bailey. David Bailey, the edge, and Arvell Reese, the hybrid player, respectively from Ohio and Texas Tech. Where do you stand now? Who do you think is going to be the number 2 pick?
So I don't think much has changed over the past month or so. I do still think it's going to be Arvell Reese. The Bailey stuff, I mean, all the business about them cancelling his private visit and stuff like that, the top 30 visit, I don't think it means much. I think teams do their due diligence on all of these top prospects, and I don't think Bailey's ever been off the Jets board, but I think it's been Reese for a while. What's your view on it?
I think it's been Reese all along. As we know, this time, we were talking just prior to coming on air. It just feels like it's been forever. This since the combine and all the pro day workouts and everything. It just feels like it's been about 3 months since all that happened. It just feels forever long this year. I don't know why, but it just feels like that. I do think that having 2 first round picks is just exacerbated what normally happens between Jets fans of, do we take offensive tackle or do we take tight end? And the fan base splits down the middle. So I think that's got something to do with it. I think that the smoke this year, it's been more so than normal. There doesn't feel, as again, we talked about this offline, there doesn't feel like there is an absolute pick where we could all agree on that would be the pick that everybody wanted. Dylan Terriman touched on this the other day, and I agree with him. It seems to be like, if you're in the Arvell Reese camp and we didn't take Arvell Reese and we picked David Bailey, most Arvell Reese supporters would say, all right, yeah, okay, I can get that. But people supporting David Bailey, if we took Arvell Reese, go completely scorched earth on the prospect. And not quite sure what it is. It's okay to like more than one player in this draft. I've said this for about the last 3 months, 4 months. It's going to be almost impossible to upset me, whoever we take at draft 2, pick 2. There are a handful of prospects that I really like, and top of those is Reese. I think he's going to be phenomenal. There was a video that surfaced about 2 weeks ago, wasn't there? Where he was getting interviewed. I can't remember the interviewer's name. And it turns out that Arvell Reese has never been instructed how to rush the passer. So he was just going out there and ad-libbing on the plays. So Matt Patricia, I don't think Matt Patricia used him to his full advantage. Surely you've got this guy at the beginning of the year. You know what he's like. He's bull rushing good offensive tackles. He's knocking them off their feet by pure power. He's 241 pounds, I think he is. He's 6'4", 241 pounds. This guy's a load. He's only 20 years old. He will be 21 by the time the season starts. So he's super young. He's got the frame where he can bulk up. And as soon as he hits that NFL program, I expect him to put on about 15 pounds, maybe even 20 pounds. So he's going to be probably somewhere in the playing weight of a Ray Lewis. And I'm not making a comp there, but he's going to be that kind of a build. He's going to be a big load. I don't think it's going to take away anything from his explosiveness either. I think for what Glenn's going to want, this hybrid with sub packages, so 3-4 shell, and sometimes having the 4-man fronts, you can line them up all over the place. I think the problem with David Bailey for me is I'm not sure that he's a 3-down edge. Are you drafting Will McDonald 2.0 and he's just a designated pass rusher on third downs, or can he be coached up? We've got Cole Dunbar on that defensive line. Forget who the linebackers coach is at the minute, but I see Bailey as not being that player. Yeah, sure, he'll go and get you a few sacks, but is that what you're really looking for with your first player? Ideally, when you're taking a player this high, they need to be a player that's going to contribute long term, not short term. And I think that that's what you're going to get with Reese. How do you see that? How do you see the two stacking up? Do you think that Bailey's more suited, or do you think Reese is more suited?
No, I kind of align with you really well on this. I think the truth about this draft is that I was having a look back at the 2024 draft class, because that was the draft where there were 100 million quarterbacks and wide receivers and all sorts of other things. And the first defensive player didn't go till pick 15. I think it was either Latu or Murphy that went. And the truth of this draft class is throw all of these players, so Bailey, Reese, Bain, all of them, I don't think any of them kind of would be the best defensive player in that draft class. I think they're all pretty similar to that. There's so much risk with all of them. And for me, though, Reese, there is a clear role for him in this defense, even if he never reaches his ceiling as a pass rusher. If he is just what he is at the moment, a very good outside linebacker who also gives you some juice off the edge in certain rushing situations, I prefer that outcome to David Bailey and Will McDonald fighting for snaps on third and longs that we might never get because we can't stop the run.
Yeah.
I worry about now. I think Bailey not being able to defend the run is probably slightly overblown. I don't think he's. I don't think he's Cassius Howell. I don't think he's that type of player, but I do think he's going to. We saw it last year when they tried to put Will McDonald out there on early downs. There's a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism to get back and seal the edge and stuff, but the power profile isn't there. And so it worries me that you're going to spend the second overall pick on Will McDonald.
Yeah.
I was an overdraft in the middle of the.
Oh my God. I still have. When we picked, and there's no disrespect to Will McDonald, but Jackson Smith Najigba was there, and I was already celebrating and thinking there's absolutely no way we're passing on JSN. And when the pick came out and they cut to Will McDonald and his family, I was like, that's not Jackson Smith Najigba.
No, it's not.
Who is that? Who?
Gussie can jump over a car.
He can jump over a car. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I was like, there must have been about 5-6 seconds. I was like, who have we just drafted? Yeah, who? I didn't, because I missed who they said because I was busy jumping down. We've got Jackson Smith-Njigba. We've got the perfect player to play alongside Garrett, and now we haven't. It's like, unbelievable. Getting back to David Bailey, I totally agree. I think it's getting a little bit overblown that he can't stop the run. He can stop the run. He's just, that's not his thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think people who like Bailey, I mean, I've listened to some people who really like him. If you like Bailey and you want to see his upside, people compare him to like Brian Burns and things like that. That's a projection. But I think if you don't see that in him, he is going to be like a third down. I don't want to say third down merchant, but that's kind of what he's most likely to be unless he takes a jump. And I don't think that's the risk that you take with the second overall pick. So
getting back to something that you mentioned about value, how these guys would rank in previous drafts. So because we've already mentioned it, we've likened him to Will McDonald. I think he's streets ahead of Will McDonald, but the same thought process is there. Is he a DPR, designated pass rusher? So if Will McDonald was in this draft, where would Will McDonald be going, do you reckon, compared to where the others are going. Would
He
Will
probably
McDonald be
go,
a top 10 pick?
no, and this is the thing. He'd probably go where he should have gone in the draft he was drafting. He sort of who was the kid out of Georgia that the Eagles took in the same draft? Nolan Smith.
You got me.
They that they were pretty similar players, and I think he went at the end of the first round, and that was probably where Will McDonald should have gone as well. And I think that's probably where he'd go in this draft.
Yeah, I think he was overdrafted as well. Yeah, that wasn't good. Blimey. So I think it's fair to say that we would both welcome Arvel Reese as the pick at number 2. But if it did end up being David Bailey, and who knows, the Ruben Bain chat has gone completely flat. Completely flat. Nobody is talking about Ruben Bain. I don't know if that's warranted or not, but I find it quite odd that Ruben Bain isn't even getting thought at all. Of course, if you were drafting best player available, there's a chance we would take Caleb Downs or even Sonny Styles. But these picks, I mean, Sonny Styles has got every chance of going at worst by pick 7. So there's a chance that the Giants could pick up. I could definitely see either Tennessee or the Giants taking Sonny Styles. The Giants can now afford to do that with the extra pick that they've got now. It's a weird one because Sonny Styles, we've had this discussion countless times. Sonny Styles is going to be an elite player, just like we think that Arvel Reese is going to be, just like we think that David Bailey is going to be, but he's still not in that conversation at number 2. For the listeners, why is Sonny Styles not in the conversation at number 2?
I think it's the same reason that a lot of these players don't get talked about. It's because he's a middle linebacker, and there's always that debate over positional value. And it is a very real one because, like, certain picks come with certain contract values. And it was like when Bowers came out, he would kind of instantly become one of the highest paid players at his position, even though he's never taken a snap in the league yet. And unfortunately, it's the same with Styles. I think I personally would take Styles very high just because he and phrases like blue chip get used, well, probably overused, but he's probably one of the only ones in this class who is kind of has all the athletic profile you want for the position and the production and the upside that you want from the position. So I think because there's no other stars in this draft, I don't see a problem taking him at 2, but I think it's a position that you don't often see him get taken in the top 10. Let's face it, because even Jack Campbell, who came out a couple of years ago and Detroit took him, he didn't go in the top 10, and he was one of the best linebacker prospects that came out in the last decade. So, yeah, unfortunately for Styles, he plays an unsexy position.
Yeah, and the same has to be said for Caleb Downs as well.
Yeah.
The safety also out of Ohio State. Ohio State has got some seriously good players in it. Which, again, we talked about this off air as well. And this is a real concern. So we've got all these Ohio State players. That defense was elite. It was legendary, going too far. So you've got Sonny Styles, you've got Caleb Downs, you've got Arvel Reese on that team, on that defense. Are they that good, or are they a product of being on a really good team? That is a legit question that probably needs to be asked. I think personally they are that good, but we're going to find out when Arvel Reese or David Bailey, not David Bailey, goes to a crap team like the Jets. They're not crap. We improved a lot in the off season. The acquisitions that we picked up in free agency and trades have gone somewhat to help bolster that front 7. We've got players that can stop the run. Demario Davis in that linebacker role. As old as he is, I still think he's got the juice where he's going to be nailing down those sweeps and those screen passes to running backs. And of course, we've got all the big heavies up front on the defensive line. I don't think there's any of them that are under 300 pounds now. So we've sold out for stopping the run. So you can afford to take somebody like Reese. But as we've said, chatting previously, are they a product of a really good team, or individually are they any good?
Yeah, it's definitely something that you can't get out the back of your mind. Is it when you're on when you're on a defense that's that good in college? And the same is true of David Bailey as well. He was on a line with was it Romello Height, Lee Hunter, and Skylar
Yeah.
Gill-Howard, who
Uh-huh.
were all the same team. So is Bailey that good, or did he just eat because the middle of the pocket was being collapsed every single play? Quarterbacks couldn't escape up the middle, so he could just kind of clean up off the edge. I don't think it's particularly true, but it's something you do have to wonder. These aren't players who were kind of stars on a starless team. They're surrounded by future NFL talent, so you always do have to wonder, like, oh, are they going to be as productive when they're going up against NFL caliber tackles and guards, and they're playing on the Jets?
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we are.
So we've covered all that. I think it's. I mean, even Todd McShay. I'm going to finish up with Todd McShay. He's been flip-flopping, and for the last 2 weeks, he's been telling everybody it's going to be David Bailey. So is Mel Kiper. It's going to be David Bailey, and now the tide's starting to turn, and now it's going back towards Arvell Reese again. So, what does anybody know?
We
The
should
one.
all just do the same thing that McShay does. Switch Twitter on every day and say something different to what you said yesterday, until you make sure that you've said everything, and then you're going to be right because you've said everything possible. Every possible outcome has been said.
Yeah, and he'll be taking victory laps when he starts retweeting. I said this back in. You said everything, Todd. But anyway, there is another scenario, not a player, but there is a scenario that could come up as well. Trading down. I think trading up. Muji, when it was the owners meeting, the GMs and Glenn was there. The question did get asked, have you inquired with Raiders about trading up? And due diligence was done. And I think that probably the Raiders just, as they slammed the door shut in Muji's face, were laughing as they did it. I don't think there's a package that the Raiders would have took for the Jets to move up. So I think it's fair to say we could probably not talk about that. But if the Jets were to trade down, how far would you trade down, and would you take, because this isn't a good draft class, do you think it would take an underpayment when you trade down, or do you think it would take an overpayment, or would it be a balanced trade, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to give you anything from next year in this one. So you're probably looking at getting another day two pick out of this one. So for example, let's say people have talked a lot in the last like couple of days of the Chiefs trying to get up, um, to get ahead of people and maybe draft someone like Bain or Bailey or someone. I just don't know if they're worth it personally. I don't think there are players in this draft who are worth trading all the way up to 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they would be the guaranteed number 2 overall pick to the Jets. There's no like Aiden Hutchinson or anyone like that who you could just say, yeah, this is the person. So I honestly don't know who would come up, but I think that kind of range of like pick 9 is probably as far back as I'd want to go, because I'm not sure that there's that talent cliff in this draft, isn't there? And I think that's just before it hits. So I think 9 is as far as I'd be willing to go back, and I think you probably just end up getting a third rounder.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think you would be taking an underpayment. The talent's just not there. And if we did go down as far as 9, there's a chance that Tate and Lemon could even be off the board, even at 9, because of the Giants now moving it into at that 10th pick as well. They can afford to mix it up. So the only player that I think that a team might move up for is Jeremiah Love to 2. If Arizona have got an eye on Jeremiah Love, and Tennessee will certainly have an eye on Jeremiah Love. Tennessee could possibly leapfrog the Jets from 4 to 2. That's the only one I can see, and I'm with you. In fact, I don't think I would prefer. I think the lowest I would go is actually 7, because I think once you go past that 7, I think I think you're running the risk of not getting the blue chippers as we've talked about. But personally, I don't think we're going to see a trade. I think we will take pick 2. What's your gut feeling?
Yeah, I think we end up picking it pick 2 because unfortunately I think that it's right after us that the real conversation starts because a lot of people have been talking about Arizona potentially be looking to trade out. And that's the pick, isn't it? Where if someone wants to get ahead of Tennessee to get Jeremiah Love, ultimately, if they're considering with Salah there taking Bailey, I think if you want either of those players, that's probably where it starts. I don't think you have to trade up to 2 to stop us from taking anyone because I think everyone else will still be available. People are interested in.
Yeah, I do too. Of course, the big talking point is going to be pick 16. Now, there's been all kinds of. This is the pick that we got from the Colts, by way of the Colts. There's so many mock drafts. If you look back, right from when this process started to now, I think there must be. You could probably pencil in about 15, 16 different players that people have had us taking in this spot. Originally, it was Mackay Lemon. A lot of people had us taking Mackay Lemon. If Mackay Lemon is there at 16, you've got to be running the card up, haven't you?
Yeah, I think there's all this talk about like Omar Cooper Jr.'s rise and stuff like that. I think Lemon's been one of the best players in this draft for a very long time, and I don't think you do anything stupid if he's on the board. You just take him and you move on, and you start getting excited for the season. And I think it's as straightforward as that.
Who else realistically do you think is going to be available at 16? Personally, if Lemon's off the board, Tate's off the board, I am not a huge advocate of Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver, primarily because of the injuries. That just scares the hell out of me. And then you add in MetLife turf as well on top of that. It's actually not his ACLs that I've got an issue with. It's actually the broken collarbone. I was chatting about this earlier on in the week. The broken collarbone, even though it healed up a long time ago, that it takes a long time for them to heal up properly. And I don't know, the NFL is not college. You get one big hit up top, and that's you out again. Do you really run the risk? If you were 16 and Jordan Tyson was there, would you pick Tyson, even though you know the injury situation?
I'm not sure. I was really hoping that after that kind of private workout earlier this week that we'd get some information about what his medicals are looking like because you're right, the broken collarbone's a massive issue, but it's the kind of constant soft tissue injuries with him. I mean,
Yeah.
he did his hamstring before before his own team's pro day as well, and it's just like I'm really not 100% sure he's going to last and give you enough snaps to be taken. So no matter how big the talent is, it really makes me worry. And then you start having conversations about reaching for guys like Denzel Boston and Omar Cooper, who are really good. I really like Boston a lot, but 16 is rich for me for Boston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
same.
I'd probably be more comfortable taking at 33 or 44, but yeah, it's scary because then, like you say, who else is going to be available? You're probably talking about Ioane if he's there. You're talking about one of the corners, maybe depending if McCoy falls that far. But after that, it's scary. Yeah, because you might get lucky and Thieneman's still there as well, but I think he'll be long gone by 16. What would your preference be? You know, if Lemon's gone and you're left with sort of the field, what would your preference be at 16?
Offensively or defensively?
Either. What's
Either.
your kind of favourite
If
player?
if Thienemann was still there at 16, despite the fact that we absolutely do need to be taking a pass catcher, I'd find it very, very difficult to pass up on him. I think you and I are cut from the same cloth. We love safeties. I would love to see him, especially with Minka Fitzpatrick and Malachi Moore on there as well. All of a sudden, you've got an elite looking unit. It should be an elite unit, and that helps out our corners as well. So we can afford maybe to take corner if we're going to take corner on a day 3 pick. All of a sudden, you make all of your defense a lot happier when you've got someone like that can play the roles that he plays. You mentioned Vega Yoni, as Dom C keeps pronouncing him, Yoni. He would be another one. If we're not taking quarterback, which we'll get onto in a little bit, I've got a question on that one. He's a plug and play. And then obviously we've got Parham that we just took. You can have Parham and maybe even Titman in this, and Myers battle it out for centre. And whoever wins that one, that's fine. And we've still got 2 really good left guards, or left guard, right guard. So by taking Yoni at 16, it gives you flexibility along that offensive line, and you've got a really good offensive line for at least the next decade. And whatever quarterback comes in, they should have all day to be able to throw, because that is a formidable offensive line. Offensively, I am a Cooper fan. I do like Cooper. I agree with you. I think 16 is a little bit rich, but if they did take 16, I'd bite the bullet and go, okay, but now we've got our pass catcher. I think Denzel Boston, you're right. I think Denzel Boston is a day 2 pick. The sticking point for me is if someone like Kenyon Sadiq is still there, the tight end out of Oregon.
Okay.
If he is still there, because this guy, he is not an inline tight end. And for the listeners, what that means is we can traditionally line up next to the right tackle, but he's more of a guy that will play in the slot, the Y. And he's got that blistering, 4.36 speed or something, absolutely insane. He's quicker than some wide receivers, and he's just such a big guy. The mismatches that this guy can cause coming out, so it'd be like that. You could play him out the Y, or you could have him as a tailback in the backfield, being that blocking back. The role that Andrew Beck's been playing for us. Sadiq isn't known for his blocking abilities, but as a pass catcher, he is a phenomenal specimen. And obviously, we know that a lot of offenses now, they're playing 2 tight end sets, 11 personnel, of which Frank Reich has also done in the past as well. I think that this is an option that might be on the table. And if we took Sadiq, yeah, okay, it's not a wide receiver, but now all of a sudden you've just given yourself that versatility. You've got Mason Taylor, Sadiq, you've got Brees, you've got Garrett, pencil in another wide receiver, and you've got A.D. Mitchell. That's not a bad offense to be trotting out with, is it?
Yeah, that's really good. I hadn't thought about him too much, to be honest. He is far more of a receiving option than he is a blocker, but it's not like he's not like someone like Eli Stowers, where he's completely incapable of blocking. He can do it. It's just sort of like, how people, when you think about Travis Kelce on the Chiefs, you don't want him trying to like block a defensive end, but he can chip someone, he can get in someone's face, because he's a stocky guy, isn't he? He's not overly tall and thin like a lot of them are. That would be exciting, and I think it would finally give the people who were screaming at Bowers and Warren the past 2 seasons, it would kind of give them what they've been after as well.
Yeah.
So maybe the fan base can come back together and we can reunite.
Yeah,
Team.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that does. So there'd be a certain part of this fan base that would be absolutely loving that. Of course, he would be the wrong tight end, because there's no pleasing some people. But it should be a pass catcher. But if you had someone like Tieneman that did fall that far, that is also an option as well. Don't know, maybe a Caden Proctor as well. I don't know. Messidor. If another edge fell, someone like Akeem Messidor, he's the edge out of Miami. Would you be interested in taking someone like Messidor? A little bit older.
I'm not going to argue with Messidor. I think that kind of when I watch him play, I'm less worried about him being able to defend the run, even though he's primarily a pass rusher. I love the power that he plays with. There were so many times particularly watching Bain, where you see him and Massador kind of meet at the quarterback, and just
Yeah.
poor quarterback just doesn't know where to go. People say he's an older prospect, that's great, but I think he kind of you're going to get exactly what you see from him. And people say he'll produce from day one when he's on the field, and I think that when you're in the situation that the Jets are, I think that's exactly what you want. And it's less of an issue taking a player like that at 16 than it is taking him at 2.
Yeah, it's funny because I look at Messidor and I see him as maybe a click down from David Bailey, but he's a 3 down edge. You can leave him on. So in that kind of value kind of situation, I'd probably value him more as a team player than I would someone like David Bailey to actually come in. That's not a knock on David Bailey either. We've got to talk about this. I got a question earlier on in the week from a listener, Marv Scottson from Stockton, this neck of the woods. He wanted to know whether or not the Jets would be interested in taking Ty Simpson. He said, here it is. This is from Marv. He says, Ty Simpson, why is he so polarizing, and does he have a current NFL comparison with his style? Well, I think Ty Simpson's probably been debated to infinitum. He's Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. With comparisons, he has got comparisons of Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, Jared Goff. Some say Tony Romo, Bo Nix, an athletic version of Kirk Cousins. He is a student of the game. His dad is a college coach. So he's always been brought up in and around football. The big thing, which Andy's probably going to agree with, is the sample size of 15 is not good. And then when you look at other quarterbacks that have had 15 or games similar to that, they're so few and far between. The hit rate, I think the last one that hit was someone like Cam Newton or somebody like that. So that's sample. But for me, so I'm going to be the pro Simpson guy, and Andy's going to be the anti Simpson guy. So we're not going to debate it because we know where we stand here, and so we're just going to give you our take on things, and then you can decide for yourself. The thing I like with Simpson is the things that he does really, really well, he does exceptionally well. And some of the things that he does aren't coachable. Some of the things that he does are the hardest parts, like reading the game, reading the defenses, going through his checkdowns and his release and all the rest of it. They are traits that are highly sought after. Some of the throws that he's been making in those 15 games that he made, they are, I'm stopping short of saying elite level, but they're NFL level. If we were to take him, and if everything was perfect in life, and we started him next year, I'm not advocating this, but if we started him next year, I think at most he would be a mid-level quarterback at most in his first year. If we were to take him, I would advocate sitting him for a year. And you might say, well, how are you going to know what you've got going into 2027 when you haven't played him? Well, you'll see him in preseason, you'll see him in training camp, and of course they'll be able to evaluate him in practices for an entire season. And I do understand that practice is not NFL level speed. There is a huge difference. Anyone that's played the game will tell you this. It's practice. You can never recreate in practice what it's like in a real game. But you will have some kind of an idea. And we've got Bill Musgrove now. If we took Ty Simpson, I'm sure Bill Musgrove is going to have a huge hand in this. And if Bill Musgrove says this guy's good and I can do something with him, that's good enough for me. Where we would take him is another question. There is a chance that he could go in the first round. I don't think he will go in the first round with us. Someone maybe like a Pittsburgh or maybe even the Rams could take him, sit him behind Stafford or sit him behind Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers, who gives a shit? Whoops, excuse me. Who gives a monkey's what Aaron Rodgers is doing these days? But that is where I stand with him. If we were to take him, I think the earliest I would be happy me personally would be 44. However, if the Jets took him at 33 and they were convicted on taking him at 33, I would be fine with that. But then the question remains, why didn't you take him sooner if you're that convicted and give him the extra year as a first round pick, unless they traded into the back end of the first round? So that is my pro Ty Simpson take. And he's going to give you the flip side of that. And, it's absolutely fine to have differences of opinions on player. And that's up to you. You can work out what you would like. Anyway, Andy, over to you.
Yeah, and as you said, it doesn't always need to be a polarized discussion, does it? I think you can have a sensible discussion about Ty Simpson. He's not either the best quarterback in the class or an undrafted free agent. There's many ways to look at Simpson. I think for me, the reason I'm lower on him is because, like you said, the hit rate on guys with as few starts as Simpson has had is so low. And the hardest part with Simpson is that the few starts that he had, people want to throw away about half of them because either he was injured or he was ill or Alabama didn't do enough to support him later in the year and the team kind of broke down. Well, part of that does tell me who you are, how you perform in those circumstances. And if you're telling me that I can't use half of the 15 starts because of illness or injury, then you're left with only 6 or 7 games to actually be able to look at who someone is, and it's just not enough. People try and compare it then to Dante Moore, but Dante Moore had starting experience at UCLA as well. So there's more to look at with Moore. You can see who he is and how he's grown. With Simpson, you can't really see any of that at all. You can't look at, okay, well, this was an issue for him. Did he address it year on year? People, like you've said, there is some real talent there. People can look at him and say that his field reads are really good. He's doing a lot of that higher level stuff. What he does do well, he throws with a really lovely touch at all 3 levels on the field. He throws with anticipation as well, which is something you don't see from college quarterbacks who've been playing for 3 or 4 years. But for me in there's also some issues with how he reads defenses, how he feels pressure in particular is a real problem from what I saw of him. He doesn't kind of feel that free rusher coming off the edge and adjust to it. He just stands there and gets absolutely destroyed in the pocket. And that's not bad offensive line play. That's a lot of time that's designed to leave those free rushes, and it's his responsibility to feel that and get to his hot rate. I don't see it at all. And it impacts how he moves in the pocket. There are times when he moves really well, but it's not consistent enough. So I think he's a very talented passer of the ball who doesn't have it all yet between the ears. And so for me, that is someone that you absolutely can't start. And in any other quarterback class at all, I don't think we'd be talking about Ty Simpson a lot, other than as a potential project for someone to maybe take day 2, early start of day 3. And even if next year's quarterback class doesn't turn out to be the kind of golden sort of class that we think it'll be, I still think Ty Simpson wouldn't be in the conversation in that class. There'd still be other quarterbacks we'd be talking about ahead of him because of his limitations of what we've seen. So if you tell me you want to put him on a team with a starter who's there, who might be coming close to retirement, you've already mentioned a few, who can take Simpson, see if he develops. If he does, great, he's your Jordan Love. If he doesn't, who cares? You took a swing on a developmental guy. You can try again in a year or 2 if your kind of older quarterback wants to stick around. I don't think it's a risk you can take, particularly with how high the Jets are probably going to have to take him. I don't think it's a chance we should take, because we've got Geno Smith for a year or 2. We've got opportunities to draft potentially a much better quarterback next year. For me, I think you said it before, if the team were so convicted in him that they wanted to take him at pick 16, I could kind of buy into that more than what would feel like a desperation pick at 33 or 44.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's so fair. I think the one thing that we will meet in the middle and shake hands on is whoever takes him, he is going to be a risk. Whether he's a developmental player or you're hoping to start him at the back end of the season or something, whoever takes him, it is going to be a risk. But and it's just where you take that risk that matters. Again, the conviction thing matters, but I'm hoping that he does, wherever he lands. I'm hoping he goes on and has a good career, because I think he's a really good guy. There's a lot of really, really talented, nice people in this draft, and we'll close this off in a minute. This time next week, there's going to be a lot of young men in this world that are going to have their lives changed and their families' lives changed, because we've seen what a lot of these guys do as well. The first thing they do is they buy their mum a house or a car or something, don't they? Which is always quite nice to see. We will be back on the Friday with reviewing whoever else we've took. And then we're going to give you a little preview onto the day 2 picks on who we think could be available at 16. At 33 and 44, if we still have those picks, because you never know, they might have been traded by then. You just don't know what's going to happen. But Andy, any closing words before we knock this one out?
No, just excited for it to be over.
Yeah, I'll just add, if you want to go and have a look, a bit more about Ty Simpson, Barstool Sports with John Gruden, they've just put out some quarterback classes as well, which is really, really, whether you like these prospects or not, it's just a fun view to look at. So I really enjoyed them. He's spot on, Gruden. He's very entertaining, whether you like him or not. But they have been quite good. Yeah. So see you again on Friday, Andy, and we'll talk about who we got. And as always, go Jets.
Y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3. And